Now it's time for me to welcome our guest of honor, the Vice President of the European Commission for a Europe Fit for the Digital Age, Margrethe Vestager. Hello, Margrethe.
Very good to see you.
Hello, it's very good to see you. And now, the last 2 months have caused a tremendous exponential rise in countless digital processes. Now, many things we found impossible 2 months ago seem to be the new standard now, thanks to the information technology. It appears that we've made a much bigger leap in the 2 months that we have made in the past 5 years. What are your views on that?
Well, it shows what an incredible creature a human being is. That when we are forced to do something, we can adopt, and here literally overnight. What I saw in, for instance, the Slovenian school system, how digital learning was enabled in a very, very short time frame, that is so impressive. I do hope, as it was just said by the founder, that we will take part of this experience as a new baseline, but also that we will adjust and not just use digital tools, because sometimes it is good to come together.
Sounds very good. With me in the studio, Matej Rus, the founder of Podim DX, Urban Lapajne, the program director of Podim DX, and Daniel Cronin, virtually in Vienna. Would you like to join the chat?
With pleasure.
Yeah. Go ahead. Urban.
So it's a pleasure that you are with us, Ms. Vestager, and it's of course digital way of doing things is it was a must for us this year, but of course we also intend to do it next year or integrate it, as you already said. So the next program block, I mean, it's about the digitalization and the challenges that they're facing. And it's really great that you are with us and addressing this really important issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm also glad to welcome you here, especially when we turn digital. It is our proud that you, as a responsible for this area, are with us because we really feel this digitalization now in full meaning, and really thank you for joining us.
Daniel?
Well, it's my pleasure to be with you. And congratulations on the success, also the success this year, and taking, I think, a courageous leap into making it all digital. I think it's very good, and I very much appreciate what you said, that maybe some years ago it wasn't seen as a cool thing to do. It is indeed these days, and I'm very happy that you made this happen.
Thanks. Right. Now, Matej, 40 years of Podim conference. Yeah. Now, we've talked about how the conference changed in the past 20 years. Now, right now, you can proudly say you're among the 30 best tech events in EU. Yeah. That is pure success. What is the secret in that success?
Definitely is a passion. And I think that we are on the mission to help the city, to help to help the region, to help that means the whole region, to bring to people more opportunities. And I think without this passion, we would not do such a crazy things to run the conference each year for 20 years, and also to turn it in the 2 months into fully digital one. And I was really proud last year when we were selected or named as one of the 30 best European conferences. And this year, some of them, let's say, decided not to happen. And we are now between 20th, the best online conferences. And I'm really proud of my team that we also pushed higher this border or the limit to the pushing the limit even further.
Yeah. Urban, this year you're hosting a record amount of speakers and startups. How did you manage to achieve that, especially in these troubling times?
Podim was always a project of community, what we are really proud of. So we build Podim with Slovenian startups, founders from all around the world that are helping us to bring the best founders, investors, and experts on Podim. So we really feel this community, and we are building Podim with the help of with our community. And this is really, it's getting bigger and it's getting also tighter. So we are really happy that we have this community, and would like to use this opportunity to thank all of us, all of you that helped us to bring all these beautiful speakers together. And practically this was hundreds of emails sent. Endless Zoom calls in the morning, in the evening, because we have speakers from all around the world. So, but I enjoy it so much that it's sometimes scares me because I enjoy it so much.
Okay, and now if we could get Vienna. Hello, Daniel. There is something.
Hello, and good to see you. I hope you're all doing well, and it's obviously an honor having you here as well, dear Margrethe Vestager.
Well,
and I also believe, thank you very much. And I also believe we have the Vienna studio right next door also lined up to join into the conversation.
I've been wanting to ask you, would you
here
like
in Vienna? Very warm welcome from Vienna. It's amazing what's happening right now at the European level as well. And it's a pleasure for us as Podcasten to join also this conference, and I want to say thank you for organizing it. And may I introduce also the Podcasten. We are the leading media platform here in Austria reporting about startups. But for us, it's not just about reporting about startups, it's also about bringing people together. And this is for us really, really important. And this is like an event happening like here in the Podim conference. We are really honored to be part of it. And I also want to mention the European Hackathon, which is amazing what's happening right now. Thank you for organizing as well. So many cool projects, and there is going to be the Matchathon coming up soon. So we are already looking forward for really innovative ideas.
Okay, thank you very much, Vienna studio. I think it's time to look for Anita. I wonder where she is. Hello, Anita, our storyteller. Hello.
Hello, Jure, and hello to everybody in studio. I am back in the Expo studio, and I will be here often because I really like the work they're doing here. As you can see, everything is running smoothly, and all the assistants are doing really, really amazing job. Now, we talked with Aleš before what this Expo Studio is all about. That is a chance for partners to present themselves, and they have a great chance, that all the partners, investors, attendees, startups get to know them. So I would really like to invite all of them to have that great experience here. What do you have to do? You go on a platform, Podim platform, of course, and then you go on the Expo. You click on it, and you will have there one-on-one personal meeting with assistant. It is not a virtual assistant, it is a real assistant, and you will be talking to her or him. If you have any questions about the partner that you would like to meet, you will choose a partner, of course, and they will have all the answers. They have a lot of materials. If they do not have an answer, I'm sure they will get it to you. So please use that, check it out, and you will find out everything you want to know. Back to you, Jure.
Okay, thank you very much, Anita, for now. Matej, everything seems to be going smoothly. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but this virtual thing is really funny because it's like each year we had a expo at Podim, and everybody knew how does it look. And this year with the virtual one, everybody asked me, Matej, what should we prepare? What should we do? And then we made a hybrid version with a physical assistant and with in combination with the technology.
Okay, so you're happy with that?
Yeah, I'm completely.
Numbers?
Numbers are looking great as always. So, yeah, it was a great element of interaction, and this is really important that because partners are one of the key elements of the event, and we are really thankful for that, and we are enabling to meet all the people they want.
Okay, I've just been informed that Anita has beamed into the heart of Podim backstage. Let's see where she is now. Anita, hello.
Hello, Jure. I'm moving quickly, as you can see, and I'm here in a technical part of our Podim conference. And as you can see, there are so many people, such a great team here, over 50 people working on this project, so that everything that we do, Jure, including you and me, is running smoothly. That means that they have to take care of everything. If we want, speakers to be ready, not just those who are speaking, but those who are coming after, they have to take care of it so that we don't get any interruptions. And of course, all the cameramen, all the technical team, everybody is here. They're working. As you can see, it is running right now. And I really have to say, I love working with this team, and I'm sure you do too.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Podim is on fire. And now we're calling Vienna again. Hello, Vienna. What's the situation like there?
Yeah, hello. We are doing good. It's a great event. It's like the second day. We're gonna have really interesting panels in the afternoon, like for example on health tech, like how we can find solutions also to overcome the crisis. There are lots of interesting startups from Austria, but also from other European countries. I'm already curious about their solutions and have a good panel discussion and lots of learnings, definitely.
Thank you very much, Martin. We'll continue after this intro.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, open your closets and take out your dirndls and lederhosen. Vienna calling.
Now, we've really done our best, I think. All of you have done your very best to squeeze as much as you could out of this digitization process. Margrethe, what do you think? Did we pass the test, or are we going to have to ask for apologies?
Oh, but you passed with flying colors, indeed. It's so impressive to see, but also very impressive to see how much the human ambition is driving this. To see the engagement of founder, director, you as a moderator, and all the people sitting there making things happen. And that I find to be the fascination about tech, that it's not just a machine, it's humans driving the machine to make sure that we can make the most of it. And I think this is an excellent example of exactly that.
Thank you very much, Margrethe. It's really been wonderful having you. Thank you for your thoughts. Urban, Matej, would you like to share some final closing thoughts?
Yeah, just thank you for being with us, and I'm already glad to hear the discussion following.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward for the digital future of our Europe.
Okay, Margrethe is going to stay with us. Matej, Urban, heartfelt congratulations.
Thank you.
And right now, I'm passing the torch to Daniel Cronin in Vienna. Daniel, time for Digital Europe.
I am here and I'm so much.
Are you fit for the digital age? How the digitalized future will look like, and what are the opportunities of Europe through perspective of technology and competitiveness? Digital transformation goes hand in hand with innovation, but how to develop technology that citizens will trust? And what will the impact of digitalization on European society be? Meet the lady shaping the digital future of the EU and other experts of digitalization.
Thank you very much, Jure, for handing it over back to me. And thank you very much for that beautiful intro video. And now we're going to be talking about Digital Europe. Is it a thing? Will it be a thing? Is it a necessity? Let's see. We'll find out. We've got a lot of conversation ongoing. Just one thing, my personal opinion, I think now could be the starting point of Europe's proudest and finest moments still to come. The moment where we show that shoulder to shoulder, together we can really make a difference. So no pressure on all of you out there listening in. Someone's got to do it, and that's exactly all of you. I have one more job to do, and that's introduce two people. One person you've met already, that's Margrethe Vestager. You know who she is, you know what she does, but I get the opportunity to hand over to an old friend, an old buddy who's been doing this a lot longer than I have, although his beard is somewhat shorter. He's a tech journalist, avid European, and very much involved in anything Europe and tech. His name is Robin Wauters. Let's roll the intro.
Prepare yourself for one cozy fireside chat. Sharpen your senses. It's gonna make you stronger. Warm up your fingers for typing interesting questions to our fantastic guests. Make yourself comfortable. Take a glass of wine, sit back, and enjoy insightful discussion.
Thank you, Daniel, for such a warm, nice introduction, and good to see you again, even though it's virtual. Ms. Vestager, of course, also from my side, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm super impressed with the production value of this virtual conference, so really well done to the team as well. And looking forward to having this chat and later on also moderating the panel. We don't have a ton of time, and thank you so much for making time in your busy schedule as well, Ms. Vestager. We are going to dive right in. You arrived here in Brussels, where I am actually born and raised and also based here now. You arrived in 2014 to become the European Commissioner for Competition. You still are the European Commissioner for Competition, but in December 2019, you also got a new role, which is become the Executive Vice President for a Europe Fit for the Digital Age. And I'm sure you get this question a lot, but what does it actually mean, a Europe Fit for the Digital Age?
Well, basically, what I do is to try to enable, because a Europe where we make the best use of digital technology is a Europe where all the colleagues are making Podim happen, all the startups, where they feel that, wow, this is for me. I can make things happen. And of course, also for the maybe teacher in her 50s who want to reach out to students that can otherwise not be in the classroom. This is for doctors trying to find a cure to test well-known drugs on a new disease, talking about COVID-19. My role is to enable all of that, and of course to discuss with our legislator, those that we elect as citizens, what kind of limitations do we need in order to make sure that we have our fundamental values. I think now we have all tried what it's like not to be able to move around freely. We've been in confinement. And maybe that makes us appreciate even more that we have fundamental values, and we should remember to protect them, even when I think most of us are being very, very enthusiastic about digital technologies.
Yes, that's a great answer. But this is maybe a bit of a sneaky question, but the digital age is not necessarily a new thing. We've been in a digital age for a while now. Yes. So why don't we make Europe fit for whatever age comes next, fit for the future rather than for something that's already been happening for quite some time?
But that is an excellent point. And this is also why I was figuring out, what does it really mean, being fit for digital age? For me, this means to make the best use of digital technology for human purposes. Because every society is for its citizens. Every market is for its customers. So it's basically to say, well, what kind of society do we want to be? What kind of relationships would we want to have? What kind of room would we want to have for developing new businesses and new business models? That is the main driver. Technology is an amazing helper in what we want to do, but it is technology. It's not sort of the core of human aspiration.
Yes, and actually on that note, because of the Commission, the way it works is that digital and technology touches everything. But at the same time, you have commissioners for things like competition, but you also have internal market, you have economy, transportation, things like innovation even. So how does it all work in practice within the Commission?
Well, we work as a group. We have different teams. I'm responsible for a team, of course, dealing with digital, with the Commissioner for Single Market, for Research and Innovation, for Privacy and Consumer Protection. Trying to bring people together, because very often the interesting things actually happen sort of between portfolios. sort of where there is some tension, where there is some excitement. And this is why working in teams and taking decisions as a team, that is really what sort of drives us to find good solutions. But obviously, we need the direction that has been set by our president and backed by leaders of heads and state of government and the European Parliament.
Yes. That's great. Well, on that note, one of your responsibilities I read is to ensure the long-term strategy and sustainability of the Europe's industry, making our industries, our traditional industries, fit for the digital age as well. So can you maybe elaborate on the specific strategy that you have for industries to come out of this crisis in a better way?
Well, I think unfortunately, Europe lost out on sort of the first wave of digitization on social media, on search. We all know that the giants, they are American. But we have a talent that we have almost kept a secret, which is the business-to-business technology. Amazing use of Internet of Things data, industrial data, data that are not necessarily personal or private, sometimes in between, and sometimes strictly not. So trying to make sure that we have the capacity to use this. Over the last years, we have built European high-performance computing. 8 different sites have this. And we are now pushing for 5G deployments and doing that in a secure manner. So it's both to say, well, now let's make the strategy to make this happen because we have the potential, both in traditional business, but also in the many, many startups that is meeting out now at Podim. But we need the infrastructure. Without the capacities, without the infrastructure, we go nowhere. And last but not least, to make sure that we get an infrastructure to support the development of artificial intelligence, of blockchain, to push forward what we do on quantum computing, because this is a lot of investment and we need to do that together.
Yes, and can you also put this in the context of the European Green Deal? Because I'm guessing this is not a separate thing. These two go hand in hand, but can you sort of elaborate on how they go hand in hand?
Well, you're very right to say so. And of course, there is a dark side to that as well, because digital technology nowadays use a lot of energy, a lot of electricity. I think, give or take, it's basically the same as flying and has increased for quite a number of years. So we have to work on how to bring down the carbon footprint. But that being said, I don't think that the green transition can happen without digital solutions. Because otherwise, how would you make circular economy happen? You need to be able to trace materials. If you want to save water or know when water is coming, you want sensors here and there and everywhere, and you need the data to come in for you to be able to control the climate change that is already happening. When you want to have cleaner cities with a lesser footprint from transportation, well, you need to know where people want to go at what time of day. And also for that, you need data and you need technology to help you doing that. So the promise is, of course, that we can do green transition by the use of all the digital technology we know already, and that has to come, but we need to get in control of the energy consumption.
Yes, absolutely. Going back to your new role, which you stepped up into in December 2019, which seems like the world was in a completely different situation back then. A lot has changed since then. So obviously since February, March, how has this affected your role within the Commission and also your day-to-day operations over there?
Well, I have never been in Brussels for such a long time. I have now been here since 9th of March, but usually, you know, I would travel 1-2 days per week. You know, I would go to Podim live. I wouldn't stay in Brussels. So for me, everyday life is very different. And I have learned to use a lot of different sort of conference facilities. That be Zoom, that be WebEx, that be Skype for Business, that be a couple of others as well. But also on a larger scale, we've all had this crash course in digital. So the baseline has changed. We know so much more now than we did 2 months ago. And the dark side of that is, of course, also that I think everyone sees that the giants, they can make the most of it. So our ambitions to keep the market open for innovation, for startups to make a breakthrough, that ambition, of course, there is an even greater sense of urgency. It cannot be that we just let the gatekeepers decide who should be successful, who should not be successful. It must be the ideas you come with, the investors that you can persuade to come on board, the customers that you meet. That is what should decide whether you are making it in a market.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I concur, by the way. I was born and raised in Brussels, but I don't think I have even spent that much time in Brussels consecutively myself. But you were talking about gatekeepers, which brings me very, very nicely to the next question, which is the fact that in your role as Commissioner for Competition, which was quite a high-profile one, you have been called a lot of names, some not so flattering, some very flattering, and some depending on your own political views or perspectives. But one thing that keeps on recurring is that you are an enemy of big tech companies, which I'm sure is not true, or at least not the full story. So I was wondering, what's your take on this? When people call you the enemy of big tech, how do you respond to that?
I think it kind of comes with the job. Because my job is exactly not to be overly friendly with anyone, basically. But the second thing is that I never pick an enemy, and of course not in a company. What I would focus on is the behavior. Because just as humans, also most companies, they have different sides. And something is perfectly fine, and then you find out, oh, actually this was not legal. So you stop doing this and you have to change your behavior for the future. So, I try to see, well, how can we make sure that the market works, and not just to pick the confrontation for the sake of the confrontation, because that doesn't open any doors for startups, for people who are in the phase of scaling up. And that is what we need.
Yes. Absolutely true. I was also recently watching one of your speeches at the College of Europe here in Bruges, here in Belgium, where you talked about unfair competition and that the rules should be the same for both small companies and big companies, which I thought was a really interesting speech, because it sort of it begs the question: how do you ensure fair competition between the very small, fast-moving companies and startups and big tech companies who also have their role to play in innovation? So how do you marry those two?
Well, actually, if one wants to make it very pointy, I think the big ones, when they get so big that they are gatekeepers, they should have more obligations than the smaller one. Because, we have this saying, the broader shoulders, they should carry the bigger load. And what we see is that in markets that are digital, you have marginal cost coming down to zero, you have the network effect, you have a different market dynamic. So you also get a competition for the market. And once you win the market, basically, you set the rules, you become a private regulator. The problem is that we know not from one, not from two, but from 3 Google cases, that these are not necessarily rules that cater for fair competition. So this is why we would want to do regulation, to say, well, there are numbers of do's and don'ts if you are a gatekeeper, because otherwise the smaller companies, they do not have a fair chance of competing for the market, for the customer.
Yes. Well, I have a perfect follow-up question about that, because I was reading in the FT yesterday that all the different government measures that are being implemented to help startups come through this crisis alive might be flying in the face of the EU state aid rules and the competition rules that we have in place. Is that something that concerns you as well? Is that something that you think we can fix?
Well, right now, of course, the needs are so much bigger. So we also enable much more aid from the different member states to reach businesses, because we have had a slowdown before. We never, ever had a lockdown. So obviously the needs are unbelievable. And here, of course, we try to make sure that also businesses in different sort of life situations can get some help. My concern is that we cannot just leave it to the 27 member states, because they're very different. They're different in size, they have different pockets. Some have very deep pockets, some not so much.
Yeah.
So we need also a European recovery plan, and we need to be able to deploy funds in sectors and countries where you do not have the same opportunities as in countries where they have much more sort of fiscal room to step in and to help.
Yeah. On the topic of government help for startups in the first place, there's actually quite a lot of debate in the community about should governments be bailing out startups in the first place? Should we not be looking at the very essential industries first and look at startups later? Where are you on that point?
Well, I think it's of course a very difficult choice to make, but startups hold sort of the DNA of the future. Because if you are a startup, if you are sort of, grasping just a small part of the market yet, but you have a sense of what is coming, and you can put new technology into real life services and products, well, we cannot sacrifice that for the businesses that has been around for decades and decades and decades. So I think we have to be nuanced, also because very often the bigger businesses with a long history, they very easily attract the attention of policymakers. It's much more difficult for smaller businesses and groups of smaller businesses to get the ear and the attention. So I think it's very important that we push to a balanced approach here to say, well, yes, we have big businesses and some of them, they will need some aid to push through. But we also have a vibrant environment, and we will not lose this value, this DNA for the future, because then we will be stuck here, and that is not that attractive.
Yes. Yes, well, I think that's a very good observation. I'm very happy to hear you say that. Going back to the big tech companies, you recently said that in this crisis, big tech companies actually have an opportunity to prove themselves and to show their good side and to really be proactive in coming out of this crisis in maybe in an improved way. So can you maybe elaborate on that statement?
Yes. Since now, as said, we have a new baseline, and I think that the only reason why we have not all, gone completely sort of out of our mind is because of technology. A lot of people have been able to keep on working. A lot of students and children have been able to keep up their schooling. A lot of shopping has still been taking place, and obviously a lot of entertainment. But also we have needed a lot of knowledge. And you see also when it's concerning the COVID-19, the level of conspiracy, false information, to make sure that you push information that is backed by science, that you make sure that people see it so that they can choose for themselves, but that it's visible what this is like. And of course, also make sure that this is something that people know, that they are being told, there's transparency about what is ongoing. And also, I think to enable all these many smaller businesses who didn't have a digital side, to help them become digital so that they can maintain just a part of their business. And last but not least, to enable the pickup again, because we will need technology to help us do virus tracking. And here for the giants to make sure that the APIs work and cater for apps to work together and cross-border, that would be a third element where it's very needed, where we work together with big tech.
Yes. Well, you correctly mentioned that technology is going to be a big factor in getting out of this crisis in the first place. But I'm also wondering your personal take on which of the industries that you think will have a chance to sort of shine when we come out of this crisis on the other side. You mentioned entertainment, there's also education technology, I think healthcare. So what are some of the other industries that you are looking forward to seeing some of the innovation in?
Well, you mentioned already the obvious. Health is very important, and it's also important in countries where the health budgets may not be that high, that sometimes technology can be a shortcut to give better services to people who would otherwise not be able to afford it. So there's also a global perspective here. Same thing goes with learning. Also, the awful thing here is that you really see the digital divide. That's in some places like this, the teachers, they were ready, the equipment was there. So basically uninterrupted, students could go on. In other places, unfortunately, children were sent home with very little, if anything, to make them go by month after month. And the next thing is of course, to make sure that also when it comes to e-government, that we push, because I think we have a new chance here, because so many people have been doing so many things in a digital way. So to push for e-government, to allow people to skip the queues at the municipality office for parking licenses or renewal of their driver's license or whatever it is, to push that entire sector, because then that will drive a number of other things as well.
Yes, I think that's a very good point. Maybe we have to move to the panel, but maybe one final question on a personal level. How are you dealing with this crisis? Do you have some learnings, things that you didn't expect to learn during this crisis, during a lockdown that you that surprised you?
Oh, actually, I didn't realize how deep my love is for being with other people. I really enjoy that this can happen. But there is something, it's still different to sort of mostly have the voice to sort of decode what people are saying and how they feel. And there's something with eye contact that doesn't really work either. So, I really had a crash course in trying to read people by their voice. But I think we are very, very dependent on human interaction, real human interaction, in order really to grasp where other people are and what they think and how they feel.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I concur. And I would like to thank Podim for at least bringing us together virtually.
Yes.
Such a beautiful stage. Thank you so much for the fireside chat. I'm guessing we're going over to the studio for a second before we kick off the panel.
Thank you very much for this. It was really nice talking to you.
Likewise, appreciate it.
It is time to rethink and to realign. Learn and get inspired. Prepare your questions and enjoy insightful Podim DX panel.
All right, looks like we're jumping straight into the panel, which we can do as well, that's fine. We have heard from Ms. Vestager, so we're going to have the other panelists give us a little bit of an introduction about themselves just to set the context. Gerd, an old friend of mine, how are you?
Hi, good. Oh, it's a pleasure to be here this morning. Unfortunately, my camera crashed in the middle of it, tech trouble, so what could you say? It's my daily job now.
Well, welcome back. We can see you fine now. Emilija, also a very warm welcome to you to the panel. Maybe can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Robin. So hi, everyone. My name is Emilija Stojmenova. I'm head of Public-Private People Partnership Digital Innovation Hub. And I'm also assistant professor at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering. I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Fantastic. I am not 100% sure if we are waiting for another panelist or not, but I think we can kick off the discussion in the meantime, in any case. You have heard Ms. Vestager talk about one thing that I would like to elaborate on in this panel, which is which are the industries that are thriving because of this crisis, but it will also maybe have an edge and something of a benefit when we come out of, on the other side of this. We mentioned healthcare, we mentioned education, technology, e-government. Do you identify any other sectors that might come out, positively out of this crisis? Gerd, maybe this is a question for you.
Yeah, I forgot to actually give the intro you asked before. So I'm a futurist. I live in Zurich, Switzerland. I am German originally. I wrote a book 4 years ago, Technology versus Humanity, which is very much this topic. So in terms of the industries, it's clearly we're moving towards a future of big tech, big government, big state. That's totally clear because, in many states, we're kind of getting paid by the state now. So we have a basic income in so many indirect ways now. And it's really quite clear that money is shifting away from oil and gas, for example, into medical care, into biomedicine, into AI, into all the things of technology. So the tech companies are the winners by and large, and they also are the only ones with new jobs. And I think there's a lot of momentum towards this becoming another real big tech thing, which is why we need to think about the next step of what I call too much of a good thing. You know, see, technology is great, but too much technology is not so great. And then we have to discuss what exactly that means.
Yes. Well, I would argue that that goes for some tech companies, but not all. There's a statistic flying around that 50% of European startups might be running out of cash by September if the situation doesn't change. So that's quite a threat to their business and their jobs as well. But Emilija, what do you think are the sectors that might be thriving because of this crisis and when we get out of it, hopefully soon?
So what I usually do, my field of research is rural development. And what we have seen here is the opportunities for rural development with digital technologies. I believe we forgot most of the time agriculture, for example, and we can see how much opportunity digital technologies and new technologies like AI, blockchain, and so on, Internet of Things was mentioned by the commissioner. So what we have started doing now is working with the local farmers. And they started using this new technology for some predictions. Yesterday, it was all about wine. I really enjoyed the pre-conference day. And for example, most of the farmers are not aware how digital technology can help them in the quality of wine. And also yesterday, we heard a great example about virtual wine tasting. So one could not imagine this would be possible previously. Selling of products, of local products, it was incredible how fast local farmers started selling online, which previously was not possible at all. So I believe that the opportunities are in the traditional sectors, and as it was mentioned by the commissioner earlier. So maybe we're lagging behind in social networks and business to customer technology, sectors, but we have the opportunity in business to business, and we should build here on this.
Yes, that's an absolute good point. I can hear Ms. Vestager nodding in agreement. Do you have anything to add?
Well, I think it's a very, very good point. And we see also in, for instance, in small olive producers in Greece, also here, because they have better data, they have technology to help them interpret, they get better quality. So they get a better share of the value that is produced in the value chain. And I find this to be very important also because if you can have this data and learn more, then you can reduce the use of pesticides. So you can enhance both the income of the farmer while at the same time enabling biodiversity and better protect, for instance, water. And this seems to be almost invisible because we don't think about it. But precision farming and data-based farming is really one of the things I think that will take off in the years to come. Because we need the land use in so many different ways, but we also need better income for the farmers actually doing the job.
Yes, well, let's absolutely hope so. And I'm looking forward to my invitation to the next virtual wine tasting event.
Yes.
Hey, Rob, can I make a quick comment on the tech part?
Absolutely. I was just about to go to you, so perfect.
Yeah, I think, it's quite clear technology holds the key for solving so many issues that have to do with things that are solved by technology, right? Efficiency, optimization, intelligence, and that's amazing. The thing that technology does not do, and I talked about this a little bit this morning, is it will not solve social, cultural, or political problems. If we have a problem sharing, technology won't help us. It's actually the opposite, right? I mean, look what happened in social media to the problems of media. They weren't solved by Facebook or by social. They were actually intensified by those kind of things, right? So we need to invest, as I say, we have to invest as much in technology as we invest in humanity, which is, for example, solidarity, right? And understanding each other and having human skills. I mean, these are very, very important things that have to grow at the same time. That's really what Europe stands for, I think. Having those two pillars.
Yeah, absolutely. So this panel is about future opportunities. But I also want to sort of highlight where we are right now in Europe, because as Ms. Vestager early in the Fireside chat already mentioned, we sort of missed the boat when it comes to social networks. The operating system, the devices that we work on don't typically come from Europe. We're very good in certain things. We're very good in science and research. A lot of that takes place here in Europe. We're leaders in fintech globally. But my question is, what comes next? What are some of the industries that we need to invest in now to make sure that we stay on the cutting edge and that we don't miss the future boats? Is it robotics? Is it VR? Is it artificial intelligence? That's my question to you. Emilija, do you want to kick off first?
Yeah, sure. And it's a hard question, actually, because I don't know how to predict this. What are the industries? But what I would like to build on is that technology, as also Gerd mentioned today, it's a tool. But we need this tool. And most importantly, we need to know how to use that tool and what for. So I would like to speak instead of what industries we should work on, we should build on digital skills. And we should make sure that we not widen the digital gap. So because what I'm afraid is happening is that some of the industries, like you were mentioning, robotics, AI, and so on, we have a lot of excellent experts. We have a lot of talent in Europe for that. But on the other side, we have people, the communities who are not aware of these technologies. And what means, we need to raise the awareness about these technologies, because otherwise people are afraid. There is a lot of fear to using these new technologies. You can read the debates about 5G, about then collecting data. So it's all about surveillance and so on. So I believe that we need to work on the industry, so to bring the technologies in the industry, but at the same time, we need to raise the awareness among the whole community. And an additional thing also today, again by Gerd, it was mentioned about smart cities, how smart they should be. But I think that we are not using the opportunity of the digital technologies within the cities inside. So, but for this, we need really to lose the fear in front of the technologies with everyone. Today was mentioned the education, the schooling. So how to convince a rural teacher, a teacher in rural Slovenia to use digital technology and to bring the class to a virtual tour in Versailles, or maybe a local farmer. I'm right now at the Slovenian coast. We have olives here as well. So how to use prediction data for better olive oil. So I think it's more about building on the skills than predicting what industry should we work on.
Emilija, I think you make an excellent point. Is there a risk of this technology sort of advancing too fast for society to be able to catch up with? Ms. Vestager, I'm sure you have an answer for that.
Well, the risk is, of course, that we get to think that it's about the tool and not about what we want to build. And of course, it's wonderful to have a toolbox and you open it, oh, all my shiny tools. But if you have no idea about what architecture, what rooms, what kind of life should this house hold, then I think you will lose out. And the thing is that we have a planet to save. This climate change doesn't go away. And we also have a number of promises that we haven't kept. Sort of the promises of universal health care of high quality, the promise that every child can use its talent and learn much more, a promise of clean water and air that you can breathe. And I think if we put those promises, that's a lot of purpose. It makes sense. This is what you want to throw yourself into. Well, then I think we will develop all different kinds of technologies that serves this purpose. And I think what Gerd is saying is very, very important, that we remember also to invest in the humanities, because without the humanities, we will get to think that the tool is what is important and not how we use it.
Gerd, I have no doubt as a futurist that you can also build on this discussion to share your own insights on this.
You know, I think it's really important that here in Europe, you know, I was born in Germany, I lived in America for 20 years, now I live in Switzerland. We need to lose the fear of things, but we have to keep the caution, right? And this is in America called the the precautionary approach and the proactionary approach, right? And it doesn't have to be either or. I think we can have both. And the thing that really makes us European is that we are thinking of the collective good, not just the monetary good, right? And that requires us to think with a bit more caution, which means sometimes slower. But we have a huge problem in Europe in general in that, I think a German Chancellor, Willy Brandt, once said, if you have visions, you should go see a doctor, right? And of course, this is I can talk about Germany. I'm German, right? But this is very typical. It's like this is not going to get us into the future, right? In America, it's the opposite. You don't have visions, you got to go see a doctor, right? And we have to fix this. Right? We have to allow people to have visions for a future. That's the Green Deal, right? That's sustainable Europe. It's an equitable Europe, and that is how we're going to get to the future. Not by saying that some internet company will invent the future for us. I mean. Right now, let's face the fact that the story of the future is being told by tech companies, right? It's not being told by us. I mean, we're trying, right? But who tells us the future is the big tech companies. And that has to shift over to people who talk about the future based on technology, but not just run by technology. That would be my hope.
Yeah, so technology in service of humanity rather than the other way around. That's a very good point.
And that means regulation also, right? That we cannot, too much of a good thing can be a very bad thing, right? You drink too much, you smoke too much, you eat too much, and you use too much data, you watch too much television, and you connect your brain, upload your brain to the internet. That is just too much, right? It's not going to make us more human, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think smart, flexible regulation that you can translate across borders is something that's going to be increasingly important down the line. I also want to touch on something that I think that I've identified as sort of a problem in Europe, and I'm not the only one by any means, but there is a huge potential here. There's huge scientific research and innovation being done in academia, in research institutions, research centers that doesn't always translate well to the commercial market. There is a huge gap in between the technology and the innovation that we invent in labs and what we actually bring to the market. This whole technology transfer is a really huge issue in Europe. Ms. Vestager, I would like to see if you agree with that statement, and if so, if you have a way out of this and a way to fix it.
Well, I think you're right. I don't know to what degree it's a problem, but it is indeed an issue. And what we try to do is to say, well, if for instance, you have a private-public partnership in one of these important projects of common European interest, it's not only the innovative phase of the research phase, it's also until first deployment. Because you need also to start thinking about quite early on, how does this meet the market? And you need to be able to have the funds also to support that. Of course, eventually it will have to stop because you should be in business because of business and not because of subsidies. But I think that we get a deeper understanding of how these processes work. We can also make sure that research grants, have a better combination for the different phases.
Yes. Emilija, do you have any thoughts on this?
Actually, yes. And I believe that the European Commission is doing a great job with the digital innovation hubs. So I can see the role of the digital innovation hubs, how they will better move the research from the universities, from the research centers to the companies and the communities themselves. So I'm a head of a digital innovation hub here in Slovenia, and we are working with companies, but also with public administrators and the communities, because if we are only working with the companies, I was speaking about this earlier, then this is not enough, especially the public administrators and decision makers should be involved in these processes so that they will understand the role of the digital technologies inside. And I would also like to mention another thing. So digital innovation hubs, I think they will be very good for the digital future of Europe, but we should be careful that we also have a gatekeeper. So we not only put the big players inside, because there are a lot of small digital innovation hubs who are maybe new, but very proactive. And somehow they need to get their place on the market there. So thank you, European Commission, for doing this great job for the digital innovation hubs. And I believe that this could be one part of the solution.
Great. Gerd, do you have any additional quick thoughts before we move to some questions from the audience?
Yeah, just a quick answer on this. I think it's really important that we really do think about a common market that provides enough possibilities for startups cross-border, and that can only be done with the United States of Europe kind of concept, right? I mean, right now this is the biggest problem because we have small markets, you know, in France or Spain. You know, it's not enough to just be local. You have to be across Europe, and then we have to be truly united. I think this is the key challenge for us, to come together economically much deeper than we are now, especially today. Saying that is a huge, like, you know, that's like pie in the sky, right? So let's hope that happens some way or the other.
Yes, let's hope it all together. We have about 5 minutes left. I'm going to take some questions from the Hop-in stream, where lots of people are asking very good questions. One of them is addressed to Ms. Vestager. I'm going to quote it. It says, regulator has an eye on big tech companies, which is good. Are you looking more into also the underdogs, the small companies that are following in their footsteps, and that might even be more aggressive in breaking standards and existing regulation as they grow very quickly?
That's a very interesting question. Of course, we try to stay vigilant, but one of the things that we actually need is a competence to go into a market that hasn't tipped yet, where an investigation could show us, oh, there is a risk of tipping here. There's a risk that someone with an aggressive behavior, but maybe not illegal, is changing the market dynamics and making it very difficult for us to step in here. And we're just starting a consultation on such a market instrument to make sure that we can get in, not to give a fine, but to say, well, these are the commitments that you will have to follow in order for this market to stay open and dynamic. And that could cater for a situation as the one described.
Great. One short follow-up question that I think is also interesting. Is there someone looking after ethics when it comes to digitalization within the Commission?
In different ways, yes. Of course, a lot of our ethics, they are in our legislation. Sort of the GDPR can be seen as sort of digital citizens' rights. And there's a lot of value and ethics into that. So I have colleagues who watch over that in particular. And what we have been doing with, where I have been responsible, for instance, with artificial intelligence, is to say, well, we've been working with a huge number of external experts exactly on ethics. And what came from this is to say a lot of artificial intelligence, go, go, go. But if there is a risk of our fundamental values, well, we are in our democracies, we have full legitimacy to say, well, this will actually control, because there is a question of something fundamental here that we will not lose.
Right. So that's it for questions from the audience. I have asked the question to Ms. Vestager at the end of our fireside chat. I'm going to ask the same question to Gerd and Emilija. What are some of the most surprising learnings for you that you learned during this lockdown? Some things that surprised you about either human behavior or the strengths of technology or the weaknesses of technology in this whole situation for the last 2 months? Gerd?
Yeah, quoting Milton Friedman, who I don't usually quote, right? Only a crisis, real or perceived, provides real change. And I see change everywhere now, in good ways and in difficult ways. But I think I'm surprised by this feeling that we're moving into what I call the Great Transformation, right? Not the Great Depression. You know, everything is being questioned. I'm also surprised and positively surprised by how much compassion and willingness to collaborate all of a sudden is unfolding. And I just hope we can integrate that politically into a larger movement, you know, the post-corona movement, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So yeah, that's very good to know.
That's an excellent observation, and can I also compliment you on your background in the meantime, which is quite futuristic as well. Emilija, what's your biggest learning in all of this?
So my personal biggest learning is that I can stay at home for 2 months and not travel. I was very surprised. I'm also living in one city, commuting to another. So I saw that how much time I have per day. But regarding the community is how we are aware of what we are eating. So are we eating local food from the local farmer, where the food is coming from? Then another thing is that people who were against digital technologies, that suddenly they had nothing against the digital technology to use it just to be able to work. And surprisingly, many people who were not very fond of working from home because they thought that working from home is not a work at all. But now they saw that working from home works perfectly fine, and that sometimes you're even more efficient than if you're going to the office. So yeah, I was very surprised of all these changes happening inside the whole society.
Yes, I agree. That's also one of my learnings, that the fact that a lot of these companies were resisting remote working and digital communication tools rather than being in an office for so long. And now that they're forced to, suddenly it becomes possible and maybe even more productive. And so we'll see how lasting that change is, when we come out on the other side of this. And I also said this yesterday I was a speaker at the EU versus virus live stream, and I said something that I think is worth repeating here, is that I think this crisis sort of brings out the best in people, but it also brings out the worst in people. It also exposes some of the flaws in the system, both on the political level, in healthcare, on other subjects as well. So my hope is that at least we take this whole time that we have as an opportunity to look at what's going on, to really learn from it, and to make improvements down the line. Ms. Vestager, I'm going to give you the last minute to give your closing thoughts for the Podim audience, and of course the virtual audience that's watching from their homes.
Well, thank you very much. It has been great, and I really like the consideration both from Gerd and from Emilija, because I think these are the observations that will make sure that we do not forget what we have learned under confinement and with this digital crash course, but we'll also make sure that we do not forget everything else that we knew already, that societies is for citizens, that markets is for consumers and customers, and that we have a responsibility for when we use digital technologies to make sure that they are put in place for the best use. Of course, I hope that many of the startups on Podim will make loads of money, but I also hope that they will drive technology to enable us to do some of the things that we would want to do. We want to fight climate change. The planet is still at the table despite COVID and everything. That will enable us to fulfill some of the promises that we haven't really kept yet about education and about healthcare and about the clean environment, clean air, clean water. We still have so much to do, and I'm really enthusiastic to see what can happen in a situation like this when we have to. But just on picking up the last thing on Gerd, the care, the empathy, the helpfulness in so many people has shown that civilization is not just a thin layer. It is really who we are. We have a very strong culture, and that strong culture can also make the best of technology. So thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing these positive closing thoughts. We are right on time. I cannot thank you all enough for this pleasant conversation. I hope it was useful for the audience. Thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you in person very soon.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for joining in on this. And without any further ado, I think it's just best we hand over to our fellow host back over in Maribor